fortification that were part of the system of defense of the Havana back in the days. Actually, it was built at the very beginning, in the middle of the 16th century, and it was finished at the very beginning of the 17th century. In 1620, it was finished. And as I was saying, it was part of the system of fortification because okay, so it was part of the system of defense. There were actually the Moro Castle, La Cabaña Fortress, the Castle of the Point. What else? Atare Castle. A lot of castles that were part of the system of defense of Havana. And you know why? Because Havana was the most important port in America to the Spanish crown from the 16th century until the 19th century. 19. And Havana was constantly attacked by pirates and corsairs. You know why it was the most important harbor? Because all the ships that came from England in order to get to Europe, they have to stop, mandatory here in Havana, before continue the traveling, in order to download the merchandise, offload some supplies and so on. And because of that, we were attacked. So they decided to fortify everything in the city, even to close the city with that wall that we just saw. So that's why I told you that Havana tells the history of a city that defends herself. You know, and we'll be able to walk around, not to go inside the fortification, only to the front door. But you will see it's beautiful on the other side of the bay, and a wonderful view from up there. So, in order to get there, we're going to pass by Prado Promenade, and we'll be able to see the Capitol building from in front. Okay, so we're not going to the Capitol building. We already saw it from the far distance, but we're going to take another way, not to repeat the same place. Okay, so we're going to take Infanta Avenue, and we'll be able to see from the distance also Havana, the University of Havana, one of the most emblematic places for the young people in Havana nowadays. And what was telling you about the Havana University, it was founded at the very beginning of the 20th century, actually in 1902. But the very first university here in Havana or in Cuba is located nowadays in the old city. It's San Jerónimo de La Habana, and it was founded, as I was telling to you, in the middle of the 18th century. But they decided to move here because it was about to collapse. That building over there nowadays is completely remodeled in a very odd way. You will see in the middle of a beautiful architecture or colonial architecture, there are a lot of glasses in the facade and many things. You know, there was a lot of complaint because of it. The neighborhoods complained to the company that rebuilt the San Jerónimo de La Habana University because of it, and they justify themselves saying that they placed those mirrors there in order to reflect the architecture surrounding. So the neighbor were they had to settle with that. So that's it. So here on the left, this is a hospital, emergency hospital. Not because it's only for emergency, but at some point it was only for emergency. During the middle of the 20th century, all the urgency cases that we had in Havana at that time, they had mandatory to come here. Nowadays, we have in every municipality a hospital, many polyclinics, and a lot, practically in every neighborhood, we have a family doctor. A family doctor attends the amount of 100 families, a single doctor, okay? They established like that in the system of healthcare in Cuba. So, as you know, in Cuba we don't have to pay for healthcare. We do have to pay for medicine, but in a very low prices. So, for example, an antibiotic, triple antibiotic, might cost us here in Cuba like one cook for 10 pills of antibiotics. So it's cheaper, but for actually medical assistant, we don't have to pay a penny, not even for dentists or something like that. For education, we have the European system of education. So we have from preschool, we have primary school. After that, we have secondary school. We have pre-university, and 2 years for those who doesn't want to continue studying. And the military, mandatory, and 1 year for those who wants to go to the university. And after that, 5 years of university, 6 if you want to become a doctor. So yeah, that's how it works, system of education and health here in Cuba. So what I was telling you about the university that we're about to see is that that's the university that Fidel Castro used to study to, but the biggest or the beginning of the process of revolution during the 20th century began in the university with the student. Actually, in 1957, Batista was attacked at the presidential palace, not that one that is located behind the obelisk in the Revolution Square, but the one that is located in the old city, the edge of the old city. It was the presidential palace, but with the beginning of with the revolution, the revolutionaries actually in 1957, when Fidel Castro actually became the president, because Fidel Castro wasn't the first president at the very beginning of the revolution, was the third. Okay, and until 1957, the presidential palace was located in that place. Nowadays is the Museum of the Revolution, not the Palace of the Revolution. So Batista was there, and he was attacked by a group of revolutionaries in the presidential palace. But they were students from the University of Havana. Actually, they were studying law as Fidel Castro. But Fidel Castro was in the eastern part of Cuba, right here in Santiago de Cuba, in the hills of Santiago de Cuba, fighting against Batista's army, and some other young revolutionaries were fighting here in Havana. I mean, in the whole country were huge fight. So we are right now in the heart of Centro Havana. You remember what I was telling you about Centro Havana? That is the most crowded municipality in Havana. Now you may see, probably when we get to the edge of the corner right now, and you look to the right, you will see a lot of people and a lot of crawling buildings because of the amount of people that lives there, and also because they don't have like the means to rebuild or restore those buildings. Can you see it over there? A lot of them. It's beautiful though, but it's not the same. So we are approaching to another emblematic street, another emblematic avenue in Havana. It's 23rd Avenue. I'll show you why. From 23rd Avenue, you may see the nightlife of Havana. But also from here, when we get to the edge of to 23rd Avenue, and it will be to your left in a few seconds when we turn right, the National Hotel, an emblematic hotel not only for Cuba but also for America. We won't be able to see it, but the National Hotel is also declared human heritage, as well as the old city by UNESCO in 1982, and not because the hotel, but also because of the personality that been there, okay, such as Winston Churchill, Rocky Marciano, Lucky Luciano, the biggest and the most important meeting of the Italian-American map in Havana back in the 20s was here. A lot of big personalities were located inside the hotel. But we are here. We are in the Malecon Avenue. You remember what I was telling you about Port Avenue? So this is Malecon Avenue, and it's an 8 kilometers avenue, nearly 8 kilometers avenue, and it took almost 60 years to build it, from 1901 to 1958. And that's, you remember what I was telling you about all the presidents that stole the money from public works? This was one of them, because every president in turn that we had here in that period of time, they stole the money for the construction of the Malecon. So that's why it took so long to build it. But here in Havana, we know it right now as the Big Sofa. I mean, Malecon means waterfront, okay? That big wall over there, that's the Malecon. But we also know as the Big Sofa, because every night, and probably during the day too, you may see people sitting in the Malecon, not only taking the sun or enjoying the view of the Strait of Florida right here, but also because it's a romantic place. It's a magic place to hear music, to hang out with friends, and so on. So, quick parenthesis, here on the right, this is the tallest hospital in Cuba. This is Almeida's Hospital, and it's the wealthiest hospital also in Cuba, because before 1959 it was meant to be the National Bank. Okay, so the vault still in the basement of the hospital, and it's used for the National Bank nowadays too. But the upper floors are used for one of the best hospitals in Cuba. When I told you that healthcare in Cuba was for free, and I mean it, because everybody, not only the people who live in Havana, are able to come here to get their surgery or something like that. So people who live in the eastern part of Cuba or everywhere can come here, and if they are, how can we say, sent by a doctor from those part of the country to see a doctor here in the Almeida's Hospital, they can do it, and they can have their surgery here, because their main purpose is for surgery. Okay, it's a surgery. How do we say? Chirurgical place, chirurgical hospital. So here on the left, a little bit backward, can you see it from here? On your left, a little bit behind, that's the National Hotel with the two towers. The yellow part, the yellow hotel, that's the National Hotel, beautiful hotel, and also Havana Libre Hotel in the left. But we are approaching one of the wonders of the Cuban engineering, one of the 3 tunnels that Havana has. You will see we have to pass through the tunnel in order to get to the other side. It was built actually in the end of the 1958, of course, before revolution, and why it was one of the wonder of the Cuban engineering, because it took a lot of effort in order to get to the other side under the bay, and also to how can we say, allows to all the ships, not only cruise ships but also cargo ships, to get inside the bay. It's only 7 meters deep in the entrance of the bay, so it was really hard to do it. It's not how can we say, not in the air or in the water, okay, but it's actually in the floor of the entrance of Havana Bay. You will see it when we come up inside the tunnel, all the achievement that they have to do in order to build the tunnel. The tunnel links Havana from the east and Havana of the west. Now we are in Havana of the west, okay? So we are going to the other side, and it will be Havana of the east, of the east. And speaking a little bit about figures here in Cuba, this hero that we have here on the right, that's actually, we have a lot of equestrian monuments here in Cuba, and this is one of them. probably you know that they are facing 62. We were invited by the British Army, so we were property of the British Crown for 11 months. So yeah, we are Spanish speaker because they trade us for Florida back in 1763. No, trade us. No. Ah. I mean, if for us it wouldn't mind to be like bilingual or something by birth, but you know, the Spanish love Cuba and they decide to trade us for. So because of that, they decide to fortify a little bit more the Havana Bay, and they decide to build the largest fortification in America. Let the ships come into the bay. So speaking of which, do you remember the wall that was surrounded the city, right? So from La Cabaña fortress, at that time they shoot a cannon every morning at 4 a.m. and every evening at 8 p.m. in order to open and close the gates of the wall, you know, to prevent an invasion. Nowadays we still performing that ceremony, but at 9 p.m. So you probably hear the cannon blast this evening. But if you're here, of course, at 9:30 or at 8 p.m., please run because it's a war, okay? It has to be at night. So here we are. Please enjoy the place.